Good evening, welcome to Vintage Key Studio. My name is Miriam Caraway Seed, and we have our special guest for this evening, Ronnie Down Upley. Yes, fantastic. And we thought we'd have a bit of a chat today about the wonderful new record that has come out on Warp Records by Mr. Ronnie Down Upley, aka Mark Pritchard himself, and the Thom Yorke. So let's just check out the microphone. Yeah, Mark, can you just move forward a little bit, just test it, just say something.
1, 2. Hello.
Fantastic. Well, it's wonderful to have you on the show.
Yeah, it's nice to see you.
Yeah, we've never met in person, and I've always carried you around on a little iPad like a little baby. And whenever we did any work together, you've always just been there. There's like this little omnipresence, almost like a moving around. So
you think around the room might leave me on a speaker or maybe on top of a Leslie. I might have been on there for a while.
Yeah, all over the place.
You get to see the studio, and I could sort of hear what was going on as it was being done.
Yeah, and we used to use. Did we used to use audio? What's it called? Audio movers to listen. Listen to.
Yeah, that was it. I think later on I could hear what you were doing. I could hear the stereo output of what you were doing.
Yes, I think originally I used to have to send you an MP3, didn't I, of what I'd just done.
Yeah, early on I think you'd send like a quick test on Dropbox or something.
Yeah.
I'd have a look, but then I think later on we went to the audio movers, so I could hear the stereo mix of the desk, and then afterwards you'd uploaded the separate, which made it a little bit easier.
Yeah, and it only took about 3 or 4 days to upload, and and so we first sort of got put together by Christie, did we? Christie Hawkshaw.
Yeah, Christie just said that been to your studio, and she's like, you have to meet Steve, and because I think you get on. I think that was the basic kind of thing, and he likes old synths, and he likes old library music and similar types of
new library music as well.
Yeah, new library music,
and libraries generally.
Yeah, libraries. Yeah. So then I think it wasn't that long after me. I think I called you actually. It wasn't that long after she'd messaged me about it.
And this was all during the pandemic, wasn't it? I think, or just maybe just before it started.
I think it was before actually.
Yeah.
But because when I was looking at the various tracks I'd written, and when they were recorded, I think the Men That Dance with Stags' Heads was done 2019.
Oh, really? Okay. I happen to have, hang on, I happen to have the sheet that Lucy, the oboe player, played from on that session. And yes.
I think you'd already recorded the harmonium.
That's right.
So I'd asked you to record the harmonium notes with I think there was 2 mics on it, and then 2 room mics, and then I'd asked you to record every note, and then I'd already demoed that song and sent that to him, but it was in the second phase.
Yes.
So sent him the first lot of demos, and then once he'd picked certain ones, I think I was like, I should send him a couple more, and then I sent him that one, and so I'm pretty sure that was done before 2020, then I sent it to him later in the year.
Yeah. So the harmonium, which is actually sadly on its side over there at the moment. Here is a short clip of the harmonium that was used in The Men Who Dance in Stags' Heads. was also the same harmonium that is used in the world famous cabaret act, The Goose and the Crow.
And I think actually you'd sent me some songs that you'd been working on, and I think you'd sent me some of that project.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, you've got a harmonium, and then I think you said you had a couple of them.
Yeah, because the reason I got that harmonium is because of Ivor Cutler, and I think it's the same make as the one he had, because he had he had one of the sort of like, is it R.F. Stevens, that one, and he as far as I know, for most of his career he used the same old battered old thing, and I think it had sewer or something written on the back. I think, yeah, so I recorded every single note pretty much for sort of, was it 10 seconds a note or something, and then...
Yeah, I think it was like each note long, and then, I think it was probably 10, 20 seconds.
Because it also has a swell pedal on it as well. So did I do like a loud and a soft on it, or maybe just not?
I think, I think we did it set at one level. I think you might have done short notes, but I didn't use those. I just used the long notes. So I just built into an EXS sampler, so I could just play. I mean, the original idea was I was going to play something and then get you to replay it, but then evening out all of that, and it just had something. I guess the way I played it.
Yeah, that's the problem. You can sort of MIDI something up, and you can get it sort of how you like it, and then if you give it to a musician to play, they can never exactly nail exactly what you did before, because it's all down to split second, where the notes are placed, and it's like it's like we did. Well, I've done it before. I've made a track and just sort of done it roughly, and then tried to replay the whole thing in various sections, and in the end, it just goes on forever, and you're trying to recreate a feel that you had, and you can't ever get it again because you've recreated the track, but it hasn't got the feel. It hasn't got the right sort of punch or whatever. And that happened. I've
had it happen before. It's annoying because often you do something better.
Yeah, because it happened with it. Was it the Onduline on one of the tracks that I replayed something you'd done on the Sonic Couture one?
Yeah, I used the Sonic Couture one to get the demo down, and then.
Which one was that? That was
on Happy Days.
Happy Days, yeah.
Yeah, and I think we replayed all of it, bar the chords, and I did use some of what you played. I mean, what you played sounded more interesting because it was, I guess, less even.
Yes.
But again, the original demo, especially the chords and some of the high lines, they just had something, so I had to then try and mix in bits of the stuff that you recorded in there subtle.
Yeah. I think that's obviously the danger of using plug-in versions of old things is that they are even and they're all nicely sort of mostly nicely leveled out. Some aren't, but it's all kind of like level across the board and usually fairly in tune as well. Whereas the Onduline, the real thing, which is just over there, over my shoulder there, is anything but even, and it's a bloody nightmare, really. And in fact, it was that if viewers remember, was used in the BBC Proms last year, and we took it up to London in the Albert Hall, and the night before it had broken, and I had to fix the whole thing and get it working again. And then we were basically just sort of trying not to watch as it was being played like live and in the Royal Albert Hall, going around the world and imagining it's suddenly going or
going totally out of tune
or catching fire. So that's a thing with a lot of these old instruments is that it's you get like a sampled version of it and it sounds great. It sounds absolutely perfect. And then I find that happens when people come into the studio and they do something. They go, oh, this is what's wrong with that, or why is that? It's like when people come in and they've never recorded to tape before. They've played around with a plug-in of a tape, but they've never actually used a real tape before. And they put say, yes, record to tape. And you record to tape, and they go, oh, what's that? Oh, I don't like that. What's that? And then they say, yeah.
There's a cockroach running around.
Oh, is there? Oh, say hello.
Flying cockroach, one of those crazy ones. But yeah, hopefully going to stay over there.
I should say that Mark is in Sydney, Australia, that is, Sydney, and they have all sorts of massive beasts there. Didn't you once get very scared of a huntsman spider in the middle of, we were doing something and you nearly yourself or something and had to run away? Yeah. God.
Yeah, luckily, touch wood, there's not been many in this house, but there's a few outside sometimes.
The last place you were, because most of the album we recorded it in your basement studio, didn't you? Because you've moved now, haven't you?
Yeah. And all of it was done when I was in a different place, in a basement, with no light and bad internet.
Yeah. Because for ages I thought you were like one of those creatures that live at the bottom of the ocean, because you were completely white. Because you never.
Yeah.
You didn't have any. Your eyes had grown over.
Yeah.
In fact, I think you had a special pair of spectacles with just pictures of eyes on, because you just didn't have the eyes.
I do see a little bit more sunlight now.
Yeah. Do you feel better for it?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely. Yeah, much better. I was in that place for 12 years, I think. So it was definitely time to get out of there and be a little bit of sunlight and get some air.
So but no, I don't think we had any. No, we had some hornets. I think I was trying to record one of. It might have been the Bugging Out song through the Leslie, and I think during that one, an enormous hornet came in, and was it? And I don't know if I may even have a recording of it somewhere, but it was just going and flying around, and I managed to get it out with because in this room there's quite a high ceiling and there's like Velux windows. So I managed to open one of the Velux windows with my special pushy stick, and luckily the hornet did leave. But then he came in again in the open door because it was really hot. So
yeah. There were some birds on, I think, maybe White Cliffs when you recorded the drums. Well, there was definitely something where I could hear some birds in the roof.
In fact, I can hear birds now, and all the doors are closed. But that's the beauty of being in the countryside, in a building that wasn't built to be a studio. That
stuff's great. The hornets maybe not so much.
Yeah.
They're flying at you, and cockroaches. This one, when they fly, it's not ideal.
No.
I think that stuff's all good. I think also rain. We had to wait for rain.
Oh yeah. Rain in here is great. I've done several recordings where people have started to do stuff like vocals, and then all of a sudden it pelts down with rain, and they go, "Oh God!" But then they actually end up using it, and it's like, my friend Carol, who used to be my teacher, who I'll send you some of her stuff. We did a track with her, and the song was about something like rewilding the earth with magical creatures, and then it was really quite atmospheric and quite good.
Yeah, I remember it came in like halfway through or something, like an ambience.
And also, I find it here as well, depending on what temperature is, the beams start creaking as well, and you get all sorts of funny little noises and stuff. So it's generally, if you're recording something, fairly loud-ish, or close mic, you never get any of those sounds on the recording. But obviously, we were doing lots of room recordings. I think probably most of what I did eventually was just sort of sitting here listening to for like drum machine sounds, incredibly loud in the room, and then I think for White Cliffs it was that drum was recorded multiple times. I think you mentioned out of the Bose speaker. Yes,
maybe.
Oh, okay. One of those. All your favourite, karaoke singers use them.
Yeah.
Who've got a few quid. Yeah. But it was really good because it had a nice bass end to it. But the only problem with it is that I didn't realise until I'd sent you some stuff, and then you came back and said, for some reason it keeps clicking in the quiet sections. And what it is there's a circuit in there that it gets below a threshold, and then the speaker switches off. But it's really, really quiet. But obviously, if you're close micing it, you can really hear it clicking on and off. Yeah. So I got around that by sending a really, really high-pitched, just a signal. It wasn't actually anything that we could hear, but it was just something that was making the circuit stay on. I think it was some white, maybe, it wouldn't have been white noise because you'd hear that. Yeah.
I think you might have white noise to give it a constant, otherwise it was cutting out.
Yeah.
It was just, cutting out the signal.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it worked really well. I think you put 2 mics in the roof, high up in the back of the room, and then 2 mics maybe 8 to 10 feet away, something like that.
Yeah, it was right. Yeah, because this room is, it's always been fairly cluttered, and it was always a bit of a challenge trying to put mics out in the room, and then because I've got a habit of moving stuff around every 5 minutes, next time you come and say, okay, can we get that sound? I'll think, well, okay, I've just got to move about 5 things out of the way and put the mic where it used to be. But I've still got them on the floor somewhere, some crosses in tape for your mic setup. So so I always remember, I think there was even, I've got a feeling we did something where I put the mics right by the back door as well, but I can't remember. I did find a diagram I'd made of one of the early mic setups, which had the Bose speaker close mic'd up, and then I put 2 of those old Rode NT1s, the first generation mics, up, but faced them away, so faced them back towards the back. So the speaker was going out that way, and I was basically picking up the sound coming back from it. And I've a feeling I might have done that for all of it, to be honest. I don't think I ever pointed the microphones at the speaker. It was always, the other way round.
Because we were just trying to get some of the room reflections, weren't we, basically?
And I don't know if I'm imagining it, but whenever I listen to the album now, it feels like I'm sitting in this room listening to. I mean, I know not all of it was done through the speaker, but it's the whole kind of vibe of the album. Certainly with the drums coming out, they do sound like being in here. So it's quite nice, really.
Yeah, that was quite a lot. Like most of the drum machines, I think we tried at least, and then I might have mixed various amounts in. Yeah. And some of them, like Cliff's, it was a lot more. Because I was trying to get some more natural room reflections off of that omnichord drum beat, which was, not particularly nice sounding. So I was just trying to get as much natural room around it, as well as play reverb. Yeah. I think echo.
Yeah. Was that the one that I think I put that through the RCA preamp cooker, Joe Meek thing? Yeah.
A few passes of that, and I did mix that in through the midsection and subtle in the build-up, little bits and pieces, especially when you hit it really hard. It was doing interesting things. So I did use that in that song as well. Kind of comes and goes. But yeah, that was the main thing we did on that, and we did put Thom out of probably the Bose.
Yes.
As well as the Spirit, to get a similar room around. That.
Yeah, I distinctly remember sitting here for hours listening to that, and listening to the bugging out through the Leslie. Thom Yorke's vocal track was sent out via the desk directly into the amplifier of the Leslie 760, and we then basically recorded it. We played it through a few times, and we had 2 microphones, 2 Octava microphones in the front, just in front of where the horn section is of the Leslie, and also we had 1 microphone covering the bass rotor, which is this area down here, so that's down the other side, and then we also had 2 distant room mics as well, which you'll hear from the audio examples in a second. Let me just demonstrate the sound you get. So first of all, I shall just put my own voice through the Leslie when it's in its static mode, i.e. when the horns aren't moving around. So you can now hear that my voice is coming through the Leslie. I'm quite near to the speaker, obviously, because I'm speaking to the microphone. It's going through the desk into the amp or preamp for the Leslie speaker. There we go. Now you can hear my voice is coming out of here, and the horns are going round. So that's one of the effects we used. It's basically just the fast setting, because there's only 2 speeds on here, fast, slow, and off. And then if I take this jumper wire out of that one, you'll see it's turning round now, and you you get that nice sort of slow, chorusy sound. If you take it out completely, then it just stops and goes to the static mode. I used a lot of, I used the Octava MK 012s, didn't I? The little...
Yeah.
I'll get one here.
Yeah, they sound really good. Most of the time,
yes.
They were used.
Yeah. And they have like a little 10 dB pad that you screw in as well, which is always quite useful. But I remember I was recording... I recorded something with the Angeline with the slider, didn't I, for something? You know, that slider thing I made.
Oh, yeah.
Did I do some notes? I'll just go and... Hang on, I'll just go and get that. Yes, this thing here. Can you remember what song that was on? I've heard the album. I've heard the sound that it makes, but I could never remember which track it was. It's like the end of one of them.
Yeah, maybe the Spirit might have tried it.
Yeah.
So I remember when you, it's like you can basically do slides.
Yeah.
Or you can pitch that, can't you? So you might have tried it on that. Might have tried it on White Cliffs.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is
just fixed and. It was working, then it wasn't working. Then we recorded it, just trying to get percussion out of it one time.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, yeah, because it does a mean bongo and a mean castanet. God, does that as well. It's the percussion strip. But I found with a lot of those old machines, certainly the Angeline, it was tricky when I was restoring it because I was using modern day components for a lot of it to fix it all up. They react differently, so it sounds slightly different to how it should have, what it would have done originally. And I used to listen to records of, is it Jean-Jacques, what's his name, that guy? Perry, is it? Yeah, Jean-Jacques Perry, and he'd be sort of doing all this stuff. And mine would be going, I think that can't be right.
We're looking out for this cockroach. It's maybe parallel.
Oh, God.
As long as it's on my foot.
Oh. I'll tell you what I do remember, actually, is recording that Bugging Out song. As I remember, there was a funny knocking or buzzing, like rattling sound when I was trying to record it. And it was really, but I couldn't work out where it was coming from. And in the end, I spent hours trying to work out what it was. And in the end, it was this. It was the handle. So I just ripped the handle out, and it was perfect. It's got one handle still in it, but yeah.
Yeah, because we thought like because it was quite loud, the vocal coming out.
I think it was on. I mean, the amp was up max. I wanted it up max so we could slightly distort the signal going in. Plus, it was the signal was being driven from my old Hill desk, which was the auxes were of dubious reliability. They were just about working. But I think it's all a mixture of all the kind of slightly shagged out old equipment that I was putting it through. Yeah. In fact, everything in here is shagged out, really, including me.
Yeah, it's and it did sound good when it was on the edge.
Yeah.
I think you spent quite a lot of time getting it the right level before we chatted.
Yes.
And it was just breaking up, but then there started to be a few of those rattles.
Yeah.
But then I think it passes because it was not happening all the time. Also, with the speed of the Leslie hitting a certain line,
yes,
it would be less distorted or more distorted. So we just did 3 or 4 passes of each speed, I think.
Yeah.
And then one with no Leslie because that sounded really unusual without the spinning. But just going through the speaker itself had a really interesting.
Yeah, because it's the 760s. It was a transistor amp speaker. And I know quite a few people have them, and they convert them into a Valve 122 because it's pretty much the same cabinet. Something I had thought of doing, but I quite like the sound it produces. I mean, I use it with I've got the Hammond M102, but then just putting anything through it just sounds like nice, warm sort of sound. And I've got a Leslie 125, the little half one, that is a valve one, and that's really good because if you have the gain turned right up on the amp of that one, it just makes sounds like the devil. It just goes, and it's sort of as it's going, That's
I think
proper.
you had to oil the horns that spin.
Yes.
There was all sorts of squeaks. There was like good noise and hiss, but then there was squeaky.
Yeah.
Kind of, I think you got that down. I can still hear it in the intro.
Yeah, there's like a
bit,
sort of sound on it, isn't it?
Yeah.
But the thing was that this Leslie was originally because it belonged to our late friend Don Shin, and he stored it in his summer house for years, and it was really damp out there, so it was probably half rusted up, to be quite honest. But I mean, it did need a bit of, as you can see, it's sort of slightly falling to pieces, but it's all part of the sound. I think if we'd have used a brand spanking new or perfect one with no problems at all, it wouldn't have given anywhere near the amount of character, I don't think.
I was really... it totally transformed that vocal.
Yeah.
I felt like... Because the vocal sounded good. It was quite natural and clear, but it sounded a bit closed in, and it was on the edge of distortion. So I tried to clean it up and balance it, because I knew that it was... The more I balanced it, the less hassle it would be for you to run it.
And you say the edge of distortion. That was how Tom had recorded it. It was sort of just like because he did. He used an SM58 or something for that.
Yeah, I think it was a 58, and it was just some lines were a little bit like on edge.
Yeah.
And it just felt like it needed to have this space around it.
Yeah.
So having it coming from I think you might 3 mics maybe on it, and then 2 mics back in the room.
Yeah.
I ended up using the room mics in the end.
Oh, okay.
Like more.
Yeah.
But they're closer there, but then the room just didn't sound that distant actually.
No.
In the end.
I mean, the thing is, I love about the album is the fact that it's got millions and millions of layers, and every time I've listened to it so far, I sort of pick up and hone in on something else. It reminds me of how like I've listened to obviously I've been a Beatles fan all my life, so I listened to Sgt. Pepper like 10 million times. But even now, I always hear something slightly different even if it's just like in the like a kind of a reverb sound or something rather. And it's the same with this album. There's like this sort of like the core of it's all sort of like pulsing away, but you've got all this space around the top of it with all this sort of like including the sound of this room, but there's everything else that you put in there, and it's just really really interesting. And every time I listen to it, it seems to change. It'd be good if you could actually make an album that did that changed every time you listen to it.
Yeah, you could cut it in sides. If people used to do that, I think you could cut a song on the left channel of the vinyl and the right, and then depending, you just pan, I guess. You get 2 different songs.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no.
That was great. Thing.
Oh God.
Ran over my foot.
Oh.
So that's why I was paranoid. I was like,
how what sort of size are we talking with this cockroach?
It's good. They're good, like few inches. They're
really
3 inch. Yeah.
Jesus. Have you ever seen that film Naked Lunch? William Burroughs. Yeah. Is it like the thing that goes, hey, rub a little more powder on my lips? Turns into a typewriter. God.
I don't mind them. I think when it's humid, they come in and they go a bit crazy.
Yeah.
They start thinking they can fly.
Yeah.
And then they're not very good flyers. Yeah, it's just again, it takes some getting used to. The cockroaches are everywhere basically. Here. And you just get used to them. You don't really want to kill them. You just have to hope they don't come in too often. But yeah, they're not ideal.
No.
Not when I know if they're outside or if they're in. I can see them, but you can hear them. That's the thing. I could hear this one was behind the couch. You just hear them kind of going underneath against the wall.
Yeah. God. Yeah, one day you'll wake up and you'll be one, like in that Kafka story, the Metamorphosis.
Yeah.
I've read various novels and short stories.